Welcome to Dollar Signs, where we help you make the most of your money. Major changes in a family, such as divorce or death, can cause squabbles over money. Some of the big mistakes that lead to financial family feuds: assuming that everyone knows your wishes, ignoring your children's rivalries, and not putting your wishes in writing. I think your family is immune. What you hear over the next half hour could change your mind. We've got two financial experts to help you avoid the pitfalls that lead to clashes over cash with us today. Jennifer Openshaw is the head of the Family Financial Network in Los Angeles, and Les Kotzer is a wills and estates lawyer in Toronto, Ontario. He's the author of The Family Fight, Planning to Avoid It. And I want to welcome you both to the show.
My pleasure to be here, Colin.
Thanks to be here, Collins.
Good. Les, I'm going to start with you. Is fighting over wills and estates common?
I'll tell you, Collins, my practice is dedicated to saving families. I don't deal with taxes. My practice is strictly about saving families, and I'm seeing so much fighting. It's tragic what I'm seeing, brother against brother, sister against sister. And you know, my mom once said to me that her greatest assets were not in her safety deposit box. They were in her family photo albums, her children, the loved ones, and we have to bring family back into estate planning. We've lost that. We're so focused on how much money we're leaving and who are, the assets. We've got to bring family back, and that's what I'm here to talk about today.
Right, that's very good advice. Jennifer, why is estate planning so much more important today, especially for women?
Well, Collins, if you look at the trends, women are earning more, they're bringing more money, more assets into the family than they used to before. More interestingly, though, is that $10 trillion in assets will pass between the World War II generation to the baby boomers, and guess who's going to be passing that money? By and large, it's going to be women. And if you look all over again, women tend to be taking care of the financial issues after the passage of their husbands, and most men will pass before their wives.
Okay, Jennifer, unless I have an email from a viewer. Let me read this from Kevin from Anchorage. Kevin says, I recently buried my father in California. The woman who was his caretaker has power of attorney for his living trust. Can she now control my father's assets after his death? What rights do I have? Who wants to take a stab at that?
Well, generally a power of attorney passes away when the person passes away, and then the trustee would look after the trust. It's complicated when you get involved in living trusts. That's all I have to say to people out there. Be very careful. Go to a lawyer. Let the lawyer help you with this. Too many people are winging these things on their own today, and I think people like this have to go see a lawyer to really find out their rights in their particular state.
Okay.
A couple things that, Colin, if I could, that folks should know about power of attorneys is there can be limited ones where somebody has authority to make very specific actions, or maybe even just for one day or over a short period of time, and durable power of attorneys where they have wider latitude to maybe handle your investments, etc. Typically, things are going to be spelled out in a trust or a will, and that would carry on past their death.
Okay. And Jennifer, and Les, we have Bruce on the phone from Tennessee. Bruce, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering what grounds I have to recover insurance policies that the co-executor of my father's estate, my sister and myself are both co-executors, and she took all the insurance policies and cashed them in. And what way do I go to recover?
Well, an executor has an obligation to account, and it's very important that if somebody has taken advantage of that estate, that you go to a lawyer and make some sort of application in your state to try to recover this. The problem is sometimes once the money is gone, it's gone. So that's why it's very important that people understand executors have to account to the beneficiaries, and they just can't take the money for themselves. If you're named as a beneficiary, you're entitled.
What's also really important too, particularly if you're going through a divorce, is that both spouses know what assets the family has and what income stream they have, because strange things have been known to happen and things can disappear. But insurance certainly is part of the overall estate, and certainly should be part and disclosed as you're going through the process.
How do you get people to understand you can't wait to do this?
Well, I'll tell you something. My practice, as I mentioned, is about fighting. We wrote this book, The Family Fight, Planning to Avoid It, because there's so much out there on how to save taxes, and so many people are so turned off by the issue of tax that they feel that this doesn't apply to them. As you'll see in the book, it applies to everybody. It can happen to any family. I've seen fighting over personal items. I've seen fighting over lunch boxes. I had two brothers come in my office fighting over this lunch box, a Howdy Doody lunch box. And one took a book off my desk and threw it against the wall, just missing his brother's head. Parents have to understand that the most important assets are their family, and they themselves can inadvertently leave the seeds of the destruction of their own family, Collins. So often I see parents who don't do a will, do homemade wills, make bad assumptions, like assuming that their kids are going to work it out. Well, in most cases that I see, it's the lawyers that have to work it out because the parents didn't do proper planning. Yeah. You know, it's tragic what I see.
And we've got another caller in. It's Mike from Florida. Mike, would you like to go ahead with your question?
Les, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Les, I have 4 siblings. We're in a probate situation, equal share in the wills. One of the 5 siblings refuses to accept his equal share. Have you ever encountered this type of a scenario? And if so, do you have a tip for solving it?
Yes, I have. There are children that do want to renounce their gifts. Sometimes it's bitterness towards the parent or sibling, say, I don't need your help. I think you have to talk to each other because he may come back or she may come back later and feel very bad of what she had done or he's done to the family. The fact that you may just want to offer and say, look, we don't want your money, it's yours, it belongs to you. Or maybe if you don't want it, how about your children? It belongs to them. Because they may come back to you guys later, the nephews and nieces, and say, you know, you stole our money. So be very careful about that. My whole message here is we've got to save the families. These families that we shared childhood with, the nephews, we don't want to go to parties and have to avoid our families. And this is what I'm seeing over and over again, where parents tell me, I don't want my kids to have to go to a party later in life and never to talk to each other again. And it's troubling to me.